everyone. Welcome to the VO Boss podcast. I'm your host, Ann Gang. Let me start that again.
Okay.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the VO Boss podcast. I'm your host, Ann Ganguzza, and today I am thrilled to welcome Matthew Slim to Reason Parham to the podcast. Matthew is an LA-based actor whose creativity stretches across music, spoken word, and photography. You've probably heard his work with clients like Marvel, ESPN, Amazon, Disney, and many more. Beyond the booth, Matthew is also a passionate advocate for our industry, and we are very grateful for that. Serving as Director of Operations for NAVA and taking that voice all the way to Capitol Hill. And with multiple One Voice and Sovaz Award nominations under his belt, it's clear that his talent and drive, and I know this for sure, are making a real impact. Matthew, thank you so much for being here. Yay!
Thank you so much. I wish I had you with me everywhere just to read that bio in every room I walk in. That was amazing. Thank you.
Well, this interview has been a long time coming. I have wanted to, get you to haul you in and rein you in and talk to you because you just have such a diverse creative background in so many things. And first of all, I must know what is the reasoning behind Slim to Reason?
Yeah, I like how you said that. It's my artist name. Basically,
Okay.
Slim as a name I took from my uncle. He passed when I was 18, and so as I was like navigating my community in Cincinnati, Ohio at that time, people were asking me like, "Yo, what's your name, man?" And I was in areas where saying, "Hi, my name is Matthew" is probably not like a good look.
Yeah.
And so I adopted my uncle's name in memory of him, and that just didn't
Oh,
really
that's
fit
wonderful.
the totality of my
Mhm.
being. And so I thought about like what separates man from animal, what separates
Mhm.
like, a lower consciousness from a higher consciousness, and it's the ability to reason higher and deeper. And so I just added that to my
Mm,
name, and 20
I
years
love
later,
that.
it stuck.
Oh, I absolutely love that. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. So,
Yeah, for sure.
for the bosses who are not familiar with you or have not seen you, I've seen you at so many of the conferences and in social media and in hearing you talk about your operations at Nava and current issues that are going on. Talk to us a little bit about how you got into voiceover, coming from such a diverse and creative background in music, spoken word, photography. How did that lead into voiceover?
Yeah, I feel like VO was the summation of all other aspects of me. Everything added up to my VO career. I stumbled into it by accident. I say that VO found me
Hmm.
through music, and so many people might know that Tim Freelander and myself have been bandmates for
Hmm.
10 years. And so I knew Tim did voiceover, and I know that was a whole thing. I had been to parties and been to his studio a lot and just never put two and two together until one day I went to his studio to record some music and literally sat on some copy, like literally sat on it. And I picked it up and I read it, and Tim looked at me and said, "Oh, you don't suck." And so from there, he
Awesome.
recommended some coaches, and I started coaching. And within 6 months, I had booked, and 7 months
Wow.
in, I had an agent, and it was off to the races.
That's fantastic. Wow, that's great. Now that is quite a short race to getting work. So I love that. What would you say in that short amount of time
Mhm.
was one of the biggest challenges that you faced?
Just understanding the industry is
Mhm.
completely unique, and it's a subset of a subset. It's very unique, and there's a lot of niches within niches. And so
Mhm.
just understanding what it is, wrapping my head around usage. And then one of the biggest things I had to break was my overly rhythmic way of talking, like my
Mm.
cadence, my speech that
Mhm.
I take with
Mhm.
me from hip hop and poetry.
Sure.
Breaking that and,
Absolutely.
and making my delivery more universal, more Gen
Mhm.
M, and
Mhm.
more commercial focused. Trying to figure that out was a learning curve for me, but it also was the thing that allowed me to book quickly. Like I had a
Sure.
transferable skill set to some degree.
That's so interesting because I teach my students based on melody. I mean, there is a melody to conversation. There's a
Hmm.
melody to when we speak to one another, and it's different than the melody from poetry.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting, and now that you mentioned that, is that there is copies sometimes that you'll get across your audition desk that
Hmm.
will have rhymes in it. And how do you attack that actually? Do you actually go with the rhyme, or do you improv the rhyme, or what do you typically do for that?
Yeah, I
Like for
normally do
Slim.
multiple reads. So I'll do
Mm-hmm.
a hard read, which is almost like slam poetry,
Mm-hmm.
the type of
Mm-hmm.
read where you're really accenting the rhymes and building up to them.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in poetry, everyone focuses on the rhyme too much. It's really the first part
Yes.
of it, the first part of the line, the stanza that really matters. And so
Mm-hmm.
I lean heavily onto that and then almost throw away the rhyme. But then I do a
Mm-hmm.
second read that's kind of just arrhythmic. It's all over the place. It doesn't lean heavily on the rhyme at all. Kind of just
Mm-hmm.
comes and goes and speeds up, slows down. That's how I kind of vary the two.
Right, right. I love that because that's not what's expected. Because I know a lot of people that maybe are not, doing slam poetry or music might
Hmm.
just lean into the rhyme, which I think is way too obvious and
Yeah,
not
yeah.
necessarily. I mean, that just becomes a melody, and you're trying to stand out and be unique. Where, something with leaning into the melody there doesn't make you very unique in that aspect. But yeah, thanks for that. I've always wondered because I've not partaken in slam poetry, but
That's
but
okay.
it's always very, very interesting to me because the way that we communicate to one another and the way that the way that we speak and communicate and embellish that with point of view, with emotion. I think that is all just intermixed with music and poetry and voiceover, and it's just a different way. It's knowing how you're communicating and who you're communicating to and how they receive that. I would say the best.
Yeah, I view it as
Yeah.
dials. Like there's an intersectionality of it all, rhythm, timing, cadence,
Mm-hmm.
volume, different knobs. And so I see it as different knobs that I just control. And so in one read, I might turn up, the cadence, and in the other read, I might slow down the pitch or the speed and just
Mm-hmm.
try to play with different elements so that you get different reads each time. But with those
Mm-hmm.
those spoken word reads, definitely two takes. One where I'm really hitting the rhyme
Right,
and
right.
another one where I'm throwing it away.
Interesting. So, a lot of people want to get into this industry. They want to break into the industry. So, from your
Mhm.
perspective, what do you think it takes to get your foot in the door to this
Yeah.
industry?
I mean, I've done a lot in my first 4 years.
Mhm.
It's crazy to think it's only been 4 years for me. Um, I often note that people say, "How do you get into voiceover?"
Mhm.
As though it's some sort of racket to crack your like to break into.
Mhm.
No one ever says that about like, "Oh, how do I get into becoming a pilot?" or "How do I get
Yeah,
into
right.
a doctor?" Like because they know it takes a certain amount of work. Like you don't get
Sure.
into engineering. You work and you study. And so I think that's the thing, just changing your mindset from the very beginning, knowing it's not something that you get into. It's a business that you build and it's
Mm.
an art form that you study. And it's
Yeah.
a science that you develop. And so
Mhm.
approaching it that way is just essential. Become a student of the game. That's how you get in to voiceover is that you become a voice actor.
Mhm. I love that. I absolutely love that. So, you have worked with some major brands. What do you think helped you stand out to attract those brands?
It's a good question, and Ganguzza. Um, for a long time, I didn't have a pulse on it. I was just booking
Mhm.
without knowing what was working. Looking back, I think it's my authenticity, which is a word that
Mhm.
gets used too much, but I think it's just my unabashed approach to just being me and
Mhm.
respecting different facets of myself. The me that's speaking to senators in Capitol Hill is a different me than I am, around the way in LA. And so understanding the different facets of myself, being able to pivot between
Mhm.
different takes and tap into those different sides, I think is part of it. And then honestly, it's something I call ZFG, which stands for zero fucks given.
Mm.
It's just that you can't over revere the process. Like you have
Yeah,
to be bold
yeah,
enough to tackle it.
yeah,
You can't be
yeah.
scared of it. And so just being unabashedly afraid to try new things and not be too shook to audition. Like I
Mhm.
feel like I deserve to be reading on ESPN because why not? Like, why not me? And so
Right,
being audacious
exactly.
to even audition is part of it, like belief.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Capitol Hill, let's talk a little bit about your role as Director of Operations for NAVA. Such an important role that you guys play for this industry in fighting for our rights and for the rights of voice artists and artists everywhere.
Mhm.
Talk a little bit about how you got involved in that and what it's meant to you.
Yeah, it's a true honor. Like, we don't do it for the flex. We don't do it for the shine. It's
Mm-mm.
truly an act of service. It takes sacrifice and effort, and a lot goes into it. People see us on the hill and they'll see the pictures, but behind that is hours and hours and hours of studying, prepping,
Mhm.
meetings,
Mhm.
understanding these bills, talking to people, and talking to AI companies, talking to the CEOs from there, and really trying to understand a ever evolving technology.
Sure.
And so, yeah, it's a labor of love, even though it is laborious, I'll say.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Mhm.
I got into it by just out of sheer need. Like, Nava didn't launch to fight AI. Like, we didn't launch to fight
Right.
robots. Our
Right.
main initiative was to provide health insurance to voice actors
Mhm.
outside of
Mhm.
SAG-AFTRA. And so we did that. We're the only place outside of SAG that you can go to get health insurance plans, and our insurance plans are amazing, and we have new ones. But the need arose because people kept coming to us, and people were losing jobs, and people were scared, and there was misinformation. And so we just stepped up to the plate. And that continued to evolve, and we realized there's a dire need for federal legislation that
Absolutely.
the AI companies, left to their own vices, won't choose the most ethical route, and that this is a matter of just every civilian should own the right to their voice. Every
Sure,
American citizen
absolutely.
should own the right to their
Mhm,
voice, and the fact that that's
mhm,
not real is a problem. And yes, we
yeah.
care very deeply as voice actors because our career is tied to that. But I think it's just stepping into that void and being a champion for everyone that has a voice, whether you're a recording artist or just someone who has a video online. You should own the right to your voice.
Absolutely, absolutely agree with you there. And knowing, from my own research when I, had my AI segment on VO Boss and interviewing back in the day CEOs of AI companies, it's a lot. I mean, first of all, it's a lot to just you've got to understand or you have to study the technology to understand how it works and understand how it evolves and understands
Mhm.
how do companies make voices and how do companies use voices or how are they going to use voices. So that's number one, is that you have to actually study and understand how the voices are created, and then you have to understand that companies that create those voices are in a business to make money. And
Yeah.
so understanding that, and then understanding that part of, I think, what you have to do for, going on Capitol Hill and, fighting for legislation is educating people, educating even people on Capitol Hill, right?
Oh,
That are
absolutely.
not that are, I have worked with, government agencies, and yes, I completely understand that. I mean, they're human too. And so not everybody is gifted with the knowledge of how AI works
Yeah.
and how the technology creates voices. And so there's a lot of things, as you said, that some companies may not, some AI companies, it's not in their best interest to really think about us. They're thinking about their product. And so somebody has to stand up for us. And
Yeah.
that's what NAVA has done. And that is just a huge credit to you and the NAVA team. And I know for a fact, on behalf of the community, I am grateful to you, and I think that that's such a wonderful thing that you're doing, and it is a labor of love, and I and there's no money in it. We're not paying you. We're
No.
we're not
No.
paying you. We can only hope to fund your research and your travels so that you
Yeah.
can continue to fight
Thank you.
for
Thank
us.
you. And
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's like you said, it's a lot that goes into it.
Hmm.
And like I said, it is a labor of love. It's a lot of education. Like, I'm not an
Yeah,
AI
yeah.
engineer. I didn't go to
Well,
school for that.
exactly,
You know what I mean? I'm
exactly.
just a voice
Hmm.
actor. But when you're in a position to make a change, you have to do so.
Yeah.
And if we have a platform that is going to be heard, and we're able to
Mhm.
educate people, then we have to. Like, and Tim, Karin, and myself, we feel an immense responsibility. And
Yeah.
it's not lost on us, the position that we're in. And the window is going to be open for only so long.
Oh,
And so
exactly,
that's why we
exactly.
attack
And
it so fervently.
And the education goes both ways. From my experience, when I was talking to the CEOs of AI companies, I mean, not all companies are evil, and not all of them have an intention to, kill the voiceover industry.
Yeah,
And as a matter of fact, it was a two-way education. It was educating them about how our industry worked, as well as, us getting an understanding of how they work. And so
yep,
and then of course taking that education and trying to work together rather than, butting heads and working
exactly.
against each other, and then taking that to Capitol Hill and getting protection and legislation for it, because that can protect those companies as well as our own companies.
Exactly. It's a win-win. There's a
Yeah.
win-win
Yeah.
here. Like, and a lot of the companies just never thought about where their source data
Sure.
come from. They
Exactly.
just thought it was voice data, and it
Yeah.
never dawned on them that this was essentially stolen voices, and
Yeah.
that no
Yeah.
one gave any consent to them taking these voice data
Hmm.
and spinning it up into a billion-dollar company without any compensation back to the
Sure.
people who literally are the foundation of their foundational models.
Yeah.
And I just think
Yeah.
there's a ethical win-win where you can work with voice professionals who have
Mhm.
high fidelity audio to make your systems even better, as
Absolutely.
long as we're
Hmm.
all involved in the process.
Absolutely. So, how do you think that voice actors today can prepare themselves to stay relevant because this changes on a day-to-day basis? I think
Yeah.
my own personal observation is that I think that the voice aspect of AI has slowed a little bit, perhaps, where research maybe is going more into the data manipulation using AI. I like to say that from when I was interviewing companies, I think there were a lot of those companies found that there wasn't a lot of money in it because the technology wasn't quite there yet. It was there, but
Yeah.
not for uses like I think they wanted. And that people have to get used to like that type of change, not just people in the industry, but people that are listening to AI voices. That's also a big, I think, path to resistance is the people
Yeah.
listening to the AI voices and whether they are comfortable with that.
I agree. The
Yeah.
consumer is king ultimately,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the dollar will determine, right? And so it
Exactly.
reminds me of like Google Glass or the curved TVs that were 3D TVs, and they thought everyone was
Mhm.
going to sit at home wearing glasses, and those were the TVs of
Mhm.
the future. No one wanted to do that,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
therefore the technology went away. And I think, people like authenticity in their art, whether
I
they know
agree.
it or
I
not,
agree.
and
Mhm.
it cuts deeper, and there's a difference between a high caliber voice actor and a high caliber AI system.
Yeah.
Now, for
Yeah.
simple information transference, if you're just trying to get ingredients read on something and you want a
Mhm.
AI voice to read that, sure. But if
Mhm.
you want to feel something from a story or character, there's nothing that replicates that human existence, that human
Absolutely.
condition. Like only a voice actor can make that cut through. And I think you're right. These AI companies thought it was going to be easy to replace the art,
Yeah.
and they're finding out that it's not that easy.
It's
I
not
think
that
there's a
easy.
win-win there. Like there are
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
jobs that voice actors cannot do that are either
I agree.
vocally strenuous or too
Mhm.
long,
Mhm.
or they need immediacy. Like you can't have a
Mhm.
voice actor in your
Mhm.
pocket to read directions at all times. And so, but if you do want to license my voice so that your product has this coolness to it, then
Mhm.
we could talk
Sure.
about that. So there's a win-win there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it is something. Do you feel that you're making good headway, and that it's something that future voice actors may not have to worry about as much? I feel like there was such panic in the beginning. I feel like
Mhm.
it's lessened just a little bit, but of course there are so many other things that might be distracting at this point. Um,
That
so
part, and
that
there's a
part.
lot going on politically right
There
now.
is a lot going
Don't
on
know if
for
you heard
sure.
about it,
Oh
but
yeah, of
uh,
course.
I
Yep.
I am of two minds. I think that part of it is that we've lost some of those pandemic newbies who
Yeah.
came, which
Mhm.
I'm part of that generation as well. But a lot
Mhm.
of those people
Mhm.
who thought it's a get rich quick thing,
Sure.
they've already flushed
And
out,
found
right?
out that wasn't the case.
Yeah, exactly. And
Mhm.
so some of the dinosaurs of the industry have aged out too, and
Mhm.
so we're left
Mhm.
with just people who have a good grasp on it right now. So I think that's part of it, and then I think it's here to stay. I
Yeah.
think I think the bottom 20%, 25% of the industry, that new stuff that you cut your teeth on, the student films, the indie video games,
Sure.
those little, small church in Nebraska that wants a voice to read their thing, like all those entry level jobs, we're going to lose or have lost to AI. So I think
Mhm. Well,
it's already been hit.
and I think we already lost to them in the past to maybe not AI, but maybe very beginner, voice actors or
Right.
actors that, or maybe, people that just wanted to dabble in it and it was a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it was,
Exactly.
and like you said, I mean, we just have to go back and just say consumer is king here. It's all about, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they're the ones who are purchasing our voices. And so they really kind of rule like, oh, are they accepting of AI voices in particular cases? Like if I'm going to be driving somewhere and I want my directions, and I know for sure, I already know that, this is not a human talking to me, but it's okay. Or I just need
Yeah.
short, tiny little segments. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
That's fine.
But other than that, you're right. If somebody's looking for that connection, which I don't think that's ever going to go away. I really don't. And I
I
think
don't
that
either.
companies these days are still looking for that connection because that's what makes people buy. I really believe that. It
Exactly,
is.
especially luxury brands. A luxury
Mhm.
brand like Louis Vuitton or the fancy stuff
Yep.
that you wear,
Yeah.
the fancy stuff that
Thank
you
you.
wear.
I'm fancy. I'm
Yeah, you
fancy.
are. You're so fancy, and but like those higher end things,
Yeah.
they're not gonna want a voice that the same guy who's selling T-shirts out of his trunk can get, right?
Sure.
They're gonna want
Absolutely.
something that's a cut above, and so we'll always have that unique brand voice. So I think there's trust in that branding, and then also oddly with politicals. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think that as a politician, you can have a robot reading your ad and say that you care about
Mhm.
people. So I
Sure.
think that's
Absolutely.
another industry.
What a great example.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
think that's always gonna
Absolutely.
exist.
It all speaks to authenticity, and you mentioned that before. And you also mentioned something when I reached out to you for your bio about authentic casting. So, what does that mean to you? And of course, why does it matter?
Yeah, I wanna give a quick shout out to, JP Carliak at Queer Voices
Mhm.
and
Yes.
Jazzy Frizzle from Voices of Color and Maria Pendolino and Amy
Hmm.
Geronimi at the Disabled Voice Actors Database. Together, we created the, NAVA Best Practices for Authentic Casting. I recommend
Hmm.
everyone go check that out. And I think it's important for every community and every person to be represented properly. And it's not okay to perform caricatures of a different culture
Hmm.
just for cash.
Hmm.
Like, and we don't need to get stuck in a silo in an echo chamber of stereotypes.
Hmm.
Like, it's very important for people to hear themselves and see themselves accurately. And so it's just not okay for people to do what I call microphone minstrelsy or digital blackface because
Hmm.
they think
Hmm.
they think that they're a better person to represent this community. Like when you're
Hmm.
talking about,
Or they're the actor.
or it's just yeah, they think it's
Yeah,
just
it's the
just an
acting.
actor, and
Yeah, yeah.
it is deeper than that. And I
Mhm.
don't and maybe it's a privilege is the absence of adversity, right? And so
Mhm.
since you don't have to see yourself misrepresented, you don't know the effects that it has.
Sure, sure.
Or the benefits of
Mhm.
actual representation. And so, I mean, that's why you see massive global successes like Wakanda,
Mhm. Mhm.
Black Panther. Like that's
Mhm.
when you have authentic care and representation, the stories can be told and it can be profitable. Like you just have to care enough. And
Yeah,
so, I believe that to a certain degree, authentic casting is essential because if you're going to have a character that is a black character or a trans character, that is a part of their being that
absolutely.
character is pulling from. And if
Sure.
I mean, I think it's Stanislavski. It's not even me, but like the lived-in experience
Absolutely.
is the most information that you can bring to that character. So if
Mhm.
you want the best performance, you have to have someone who's probably lived that life.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's I mean, I'm gonna put it very simply, it's one of the reasons too when, if I'm working with a student and I wanna create a demo and I want them to resonate with their copy, it's gonna be something that they're familiar with, something that they have experienced, something that or
Right.
even if they haven't well, I'm gonna say the best is to have them experience it. That gives them the most authentic connection to it, and, that's just a really basic, simple, explanation from a demo standpoint or that makes you perform the best, I think, and that is the
I would
most
agree.
authentic, that will resonate with the person that's listening. It will connect with them, and it really is all about connection. It is so much about connection,
Yeah.
and I think that it goes beyond voice acting at this point, because with the chaos that's going on in the world today, we need that connection more than ever. So,
Yes, you need that
yeah.
connection, that exposure, and that's where authenticity comes into play because
Yeah.
it prevents this otherism that happens
Yeah.
when you're not
Mhm.
exposed to people who have different experiences. You become siloed in your own thought, and there's a
Yeah.
reason
Yeah.
that large swaths of the country are of a certain mindset because there's not a lot of diversity in those areas, and they
Mhm.
don't have other experiences. They don't have other people who don't look like them to
Sure.
find out, like, hey, they have values, they have morals, they care about their family, they care about the same things I do. They're not some other
Yeah,
invading, opposing force. These are people
exactly.
too. And so I think the art is a gateway for you to be able to connect with other cultures.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I'm always the first person to say that in order to connect, a lot of times I'm looking at art, I am watching art, and that it
Absolutely.
teaches me and educates me all the time. And I always am telling people, when I want a creative refresh, I'll just, go and try to watch a good movie, or go and listen to a great podcast, or read a
Mhm.
good book. And the art is just so, I think, helpful in terms of helping me educate myself, grow, and connect, and be able to take it and, I would say, progress forward in humanity. To be quite
Absolutely.
honest,
You
it's
you create a different picture with when you have more
so
colors. Now
important.
you can absolutely make art with one color palette for sure.
Mm,
But you can make more when you have more colors to choose from and to play with and
yeah,
to mix. And so that's it's as simple as that. Like you can
yeah.
create a richer tapestry of just art when you have more experiences to pull from.
Hmm. What would you say? What would you recommend for talent that are just starting out? What would be some important skills or habits that they need to focus on in the booth?
I always say the operative word in voice acting is acting. Like
Mm,
it's not about the voice. Like that's only going to get you so far.
sure.
And it might get you a job or two, but if you want longevity, if you want a career, if you want more money,
Yeah.
the acting is essential. And I
Yeah.
thought coming in that even if I just want to do commercials, I don't care about characters or video games, which
Mm.
I do now and I have done, but I learned that even studying acting can inform my commercial reads
Oh,
and, and
absolutely.
vice
Yeah.
versa. And so like, I would just recommend that they dive into studying acting and as many voice coaches and workshops and things that you can get yourself into to absorb and learn from people who really know this industry and can
Yeah.
teach you like the best practices in the booth.
Yes, and acting for any genre. It's commercial,
Yeah.
for even promo, for documentary, for, and I always say, for corporate narration, for medical narration.
Yeah.
There is acting. There is never not acting. And it's interesting, because a lot of times people will be listening to the end results of, let's say, a corporate video or a commercial on television, and they simply tend to mimic
Yeah.
what they hear. And
Yeah.
what they don't realize is that that's so subjective. Number one is, what will the final product end up being? But in order to get that job, a lot of times you're
Hmm.
going through an agent or a casting director that
Yeah.
literally is looking for someone that can act, so that you can do whatever directed read happens to
Exactly.
be on the client's mind at that time.
You have to be able to pivot between different
Hmm.
just avenues and styles of read, even within a commercial. The other
Sure,
thing I would tell
absolutely.
people are that you have to be a Swiss Army knife now. You can't
Yes.
you can't just do one thing coming into the industry now. Like
Mhm, mhm,
in yesteryear, in the BC era of voiceover, you could be an animation specialist. You could just
mhm.
be a promo guy. You could just be a commercial guy. Now, if you want to have a career, you have to be able to do video games, promo, commercial, e-learning, audiobooks, which I'm not touching, but like you have to be able to do a couple of different things, and your agent is going to send you more stuff if you are able to land
If you're
across multiple
versatile.
genres. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So what is next for Matthew Slim to Reason
Reason.
Parham? What is
I
next?
want to be undeniable. I want
Mm,
to be, I feel I'm an upstart and I've had a great 4 years, but I want
mhm,
to be someone that is looked at outside of the scope of NAVA as a singular talent that is
Sure.
undeniable, that
Mm,
excels in promo and video games and commercials and dubbing. I want to be known as one of them ones, as we say. Like I want to be on the Mount Rushmore. And so I look to, like a Dave Fenoy and Joe Cipriano
mm,
and like people who
mhm.
are literal legends. When it's all said and done and I hang my Sennheiser up, I want to be next to them on the Mount Rushmore. So to get that, I just need to keep booking. I've done great things. And so what's next is just more learning,
Mm,
more opportunities, more muscle, more hustle. That's
I
what's
love it.
next.
I don't think you ever stop learning.
It's a lifelong
Yeah,
process.
it is a lifelong process. Well, how can bosses get in touch with you if they would like to be more inspired?
Well, bosses, holla at your boy. I mainly live on Instagram. You can find me at Slim the Reason, SlimDareazon. Definitely follow Nava Voices on all platforms. And if you want to take a look at my personal work, you can look at my website, MatthewParhamVO.com.
Love it. Love it. Matthew, this has been so wonderful
No, I'm so
chatting
glad
with
to finally
you.
talk to you. I've
I
been wanting to do this
know.
forever. So thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm going to give a great big shout out to our sponsor, IPDTL. You too can connect and network like bosses. Find out more at ipdtl.com. And you guys have an amazing week, and we'll see you next week. Bye.